There are people who strive every single day. They work, they try, they chase after things, and still life doesn't move forward. Not because they lack effort, but because they are trapped in patterns they don't even notice. And the most dangerous part, these patterns seem normal. The book of Proverbs reveals behaviors that silently block life, prevent growth, and keep people in the same place for years. If your life is not moving forward the way it should, maybe this is the reason. The truth is that most people are not without opportunity. They are without awareness. Proverbs was not written just to inspire. It was written to correct the way we think, decide, and live. It reveals patterns that lead to growth and patterns that lead to stagnation. And today, you will understand 7 patterns that keep people poor, stuck and frustrated, not only financially, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Because a stuck life doesn't start on the outside. It starts in decisions, behavior, and mindset. And while these invisible patterns are not identified, you may keep trying and still not move forward. But the good news is, when you understand the pattern, you can change the pattern. And when the pattern changes, life starts to change. If this message speaks to you, subscribe to the channel and comment below. Today, I choose wisdom. Because everything starts with that decision. Now pay attention, because the first pattern is more common than it seems, and it may be exactly where everything begins. Pattern 1. Living without direction. There are people who wake up every day with the feeling that a stuck life is not just a phase, it's a cycle. You try, you make an effort, you move, but deep down you feel like you're not moving forward, as if you're walking in invisible circles. And the most dangerous part of all this is that on the outside, it looks like you're doing what needs to be done. But on the inside, there is a silent confusion, a lack of direction that no one sees. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why does nothing work for me? Even after so much effort with no results, that's it. This is not a lack of ability. This, many times, is a mistake you don't notice. The truth is that many people live on autopilot, making decisions every day without stopping to understand if they are going in the right direction. And that blocks your growth in a brutal way. Now let me show you something that maybe no one has explained to you clearly. There is a type of wrong behavior that seems harmless, but is extremely dangerous, acting based on what seems right. It is written in Proverbs 14:12 that there are ways that seem right to a person, but in the end lead to death. Do you see the depth of that? Biblical wisdom is showing that not everything that makes sense in your mind is aligned with God's direction. And here is the point. When you live based only on your perception without wisdom, you enter a cycle of wrong decisions that repeat themselves. That is why you feel stuck, tired of trying, living in a stagnation you can't explain. It's not a lack of effort, it's a lack of direction. Let me give you an image so you never forget this again. Living without direction is like walking in the middle of a dense fog, without a map, without reference. Every step seems safe until you realize you are completely lost. And the worst part, the more you walk, the farther you get from the right destination. I have seen extremely dedicated people, even disciplined, who remained stagnant because they were going in the wrong direction. This blocks your progress. This prevents your prosperity. This keeps you in the same place for years. It's not about doing more. It's about doing it right. And without wisdom, you can spend your entire life repeating the same mistakes, thinking you are evolving. So the first adjustment is not to run faster. It is to stop. Yes, stop. It seems counterintuitive, right? But the word reveals that before any decision, you need to seek direction. Stop acting on impulse, get out of autopilot, develop awareness about your choices. Simple questions can start this transformation. Is this aligned with the kind of life I want to build? Is this decision coming from wisdom or from emotion? Start aligning your life with principles, not with passing feelings. Because when you start living with wisdom, something changes inside you, and little by little outside as well. And this is where many people get stuck, because there is another pattern even more subtle that makes the person believe they are in control, when in reality they are completely limited. And that is exactly what we need to talk about now. Pattern 2, trusting only your own understanding. There is a type of person who is always trying to solve everything alone. And maybe that person is you. Not out of explicit arrogance, but because of a kind of silent self-sufficiency that builds over time. You think, analyze, decide, and move forward. But even doing all this, the feeling of a stuck life is still there, like background noise that never disappears. And then comes the frustration. I'm trying, so why does nothing work? The problem is that trusting only your own understanding looks like wisdom. But often it is just limitation disguised. And this keeps you trapped in invisible patterns you don't even notice. You believe you're making good decisions, but you're only repeating wrong choices within the same level of awareness. The Bible shows something extremely direct in Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. Do you feel the weight of that? Biblical wisdom is not suggesting, it is warning. When you live based only on what you think, what you feel, what you understand, you automatically limit yourself to your own level of vision. And that is the problem. You don't see everything. You don't have all the pieces. The word reveals that trusting only yourself is a mistake you don't notice because it comes disguised as security. But in practice, this blocks your growth, stops your progress, and prevents your prosperity. Because you keep making decisions based on an incomplete view of reality. Let me give you an analogy that may change the way you see this. It's like trying to assemble a giant puzzle, but you only have half the pieces. Even so, you insist on believing you are seeing the full picture. You force connections, make decisions, keep moving forward. But in the end, everything is misaligned. That is exactly what happens when you live trusting only your own understanding. I have been through this. I have made decisions thinking I was right, defending my ideas with conviction, only to later realize I was completely wrong. And you know what hurts the most? It's not the mistake itself. It's realizing it could have been avoided. This makes you regress. It steals your peace. It keeps you in the same place much longer than it should. The adjustment here requires humility. And this is one of the hardest points for many people. Recognizing that you don't know everything, that your vision is limited, that your decisions need a greater direction. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. Start bringing God into the center of your decisions. Before acting, ask, is this aligned with God's will or just my will? Seek principles, seek wisdom, seek direction. Because when you begin to trust God's direction, something changes. Your decisions start to generate different results. And this opens space for real growth, personal evolution, and a life aligned. But there is another pattern that continues sabotaging many people, even when they already understand this. And it is one of the most common of all. Pattern 3, lack of discipline. Now let me talk to you about one of the most common, and at the same time most ignored, patterns that keeps life stuck. Lack of discipline. Because, let's be honest here, many people are not stuck because of lack of opportunity, nor because of lack of ability. They are stuck because they cannot sustain a behavior over time. They start excited, full of intention, but they don't maintain it. And then comes that cycle you already know well. Start, stop, start again, and never see results. This generates frustration, a feeling of being stuck, and that constant idea that nothing works. But the problem is not what you start, it is what you don't continue. And this, as simple as it seems, is an invisible pattern that silently destroys your life. Proverbs teaches us something powerful by pointing to the ant. In Proverbs 6:6, the Bible shows an extremely practical biblical principle. Observe the ant, see how it acts, and learn. Look how interesting. The ant does not wait for motivation, does not depend on emotion, does not need someone watching. It simply does what needs to be done consistently. This is applied biblical wisdom. While many people live on autopilot, acting on impulse, seeking immediate comfort, the ant represents discipline, consistency, and future vision. And here is the diagnosis. Lack of discipline is not just laziness. It is a limited mindset that prioritizes immediate pleasure and ignores long-term growth. This blocks your progress, prevents your prosperity, and keeps you in the same place. Now imagine this with me. You plant a seed today, and the next day you go check if it has grown. It hasn't. Then you get discouraged, stop watering, abandon it, and later say, it doesn't work. Sounds absurd, right? But that is exactly what many people do with their own lives. They start a project, start a habit, start a change, but don't sustain the process. They want results without consistency, growth without discipline. I have lived this too. I've started incredible things and abandoned them halfway because I wasn't seeing results. But the truth is hard. It wasn't that it wasn't working. I just wasn't staying long enough. This is self-sabotage. This makes you regress and reinforces the feeling of stagnation. The adjustment here is simple to understand, but difficult to apply. You need to develop daily discipline, regardless of how you feel. Don't wait for motivation. It is unstable. Create small commitments and fulfill them every day. For example, if you want to grow financially, start organizing your finances daily, even if it's for 10 minutes. If you want personal growth, read, study, learn something every day. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be consistent. Start small but continue, because that is what builds results. That is what generates growth. That is what takes you out of stagnation. And when you begin to understand this, another pattern emerges, even more subtle, that deceives many people, making them believe they are moving forward, when in reality, they are not leaving the same place. Pattern 4. Talking too much and doing too little. There is an extremely common and dangerously deceptive pattern that keeps many people in a stuck life without them realizing it. It is when the person talks a lot about change, but acts very little in practice. They plan, comment, explain, share ideas, and even feel like they are moving forward, but deep down, nothing changes. And this creates a strange feeling because it seems like you are moving, but you remain in the same place. Have you noticed this? You think about improving, talk about growth, even advise other people, but your own life remains in stagnation. This creates a cycle of silent frustration because you feel like you are doing something, but you don't see real results. And here is the point. This is a wrong behavior that keeps you trapped without you realizing it. The Bible shows something extremely direct in Proverbs 14:23. In all labor there is profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Look at the clarity of that. Biblical wisdom is making it clear that there is a huge difference between talking and doing. Talking may give the feeling of progress, but it does not generate transformation. And that is exactly where the danger lies. Many people live on autopilot, feeding ideas, plans, and intentions, but they do not execute. And without action, there is no growth, no prosperity, no personal evolution. The word reveals that this pattern not only delays your life, it directly prevents your prosperity. Because while you talk, time passes, and time does not come back. Let me show you this in a way that may be impossible to forget. Talking about change is like being inside a parked car, revving the engine. The noise deceives. The feeling of movement is there. It seems like you are going somewhere, but you are not moving at all. And the more you do this, the more you convince yourself that you are progressing. I have seen people who consume content, watch videos, make incredible plans, but execute nothing. And then they say, it doesn't work. But the truth is, they never applied it. This is self-sabotage at a high level. This blocks your progress, keeps you in the same place, and destroys your confidence over time, because you start to doubt yourself. The adjustment here requires a simple but powerful shift. Act more and talk less. Start reducing the time you spend planning and increase the time executing. If you want to change your life, choose one practical action per day and do it without announcing it, without waiting for validation. For example, want to improve your financial life? Start today, review your expenses, cut excess, organize your income. Want personal growth? Study, apply, practice. Don't talk about what you're going to do it. Because transformation happens in action. And when you start acting for real, you realize there is another pattern even more dangerous, one that makes you act, but in the wrong way, guided by emotions you don't always control. Pattern 5. Reacting by emotion, not by wisdom. Now pay attention to this, because this pattern is one of the most treacherous of all. Unlike the others, here the person actually acts, but acts poorly. Acts quickly, impulsively in the heat of the moment, and then pays the price. And the worst part, many times they don't even realize that this wrong behavior is behind the stuck life they live. They only feel the consequences: broken relationships, wrong decisions, lost opportunities, feeling stuck, mental confusion, and that constant frustration of seeing that nothing works. But the problem is not lack of action, it is lack of wisdom when acting. It is acting from emotion, not from direction. And this, without realizing it, keeps you in cycles of self-sabotage that block your growth. Proverbs teaches something extremely deep in Proverbs 16:32. Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. Look at this. Biblical wisdom is placing self-control above great achievements. This changes everything, because many people think strength is reacting, responding immediately, imposing their will. But the word reveals the opposite. Strength is control. Strength is knowing how to stop. Strength is not letting emotion decide for you. When you live reacting impulsively, you enter an invisible pattern that makes you regress, steals your peace, and prevents your prosperity. Because emotional decisions are rarely intelligent decisions. And whoever lives like this, lives putting out fires they created themselves. Now imagine this very clearly. It is as if your life were a boat, and each emotion were a storm. If you let each wind decide your direction, you never reach anywhere. One day you are motivated, the next you are discouraged. One day you make a decision, the next you want to give up. One day you trust, the next you doubt, and so you go. Being carried without control, without direction, without consistency. I have lived this too. I've made impulsive decisions, said things in the heat of the moment, reacted without thinking, and then had to deal with consequences that could have been avoided. This destroys your life little by little, not all at once, but cumulatively. And when you realize it, you are tired of trying and not understanding why you are not moving forward. The adjustment here is to develop self-control, and this is not automatic, it is built. Before reacting, pause. Create the habit of thinking before acting. Ask, is this decision coming from emotion or from wisdom? Start with simple things. Wait a few minutes before responding to something important. Do not make decisions at the peak of anger or euphoria. Learn to be silent before acting. This completely changes your life, because when you begin to act with wisdom, your decisions start to generate different results. You begin to align your life, grow consistently, and come out of stagnation. But there is an even more silent pattern that does not appear in your actions nor in your words. It appears inside you, in the way you compare yourself to others. Pattern 6. Comparison and envy. There is a silent pattern that makes no noise, but corrodes from the inside. It does not clearly appear in your actions. It is not something everyone sees, but it directly affects your life, your decisions, and especially your mindset. It is constant comparison. You look at other people's lives, measure your progress based on theirs, and without realizing it, you enter a cycle of frustration, confusion, and feeling stuck. And then that thought arises: why is their life moving, and mine is not advancing? This generates deep emotional stagnation, because while you observe others' growth, you begin to devalue your own process. And this blocks your growth in a way that few people notice. It is a mistake you don't perceive, but that keeps you in the same place. The Bible shows something very strong in Proverbs 27:4. Wrath is cruel and anger is overwhelming, but who can stand before jealousy? Look at that. Biblical wisdom places envy as something even more dangerous than anger itself. Why? Because it is silent. It does not explode, it corrodes. The word reveals that when you live comparing yourself, you lose your identity. You stop living with purpose and start living based on what you see in others. And that is extremely dangerous, because your decisions begin to be based on comparison, not on direction. And decisions based on that are almost always wrong decisions. This blocks your progress, prevents your prosperity, and makes you regress emotionally, even if on the outside everything seems fine. Now think about this in a simple but deep way. It is like running on a track. But instead of looking forward, you keep looking at other people's lanes. You lose rhythm, stumble, slow down, and in the end you don't even know where you were going anymore. Each person has their own timing, their own process, a different life construction. But when you live comparing yourself, you enter an invisible pattern that destroys your clarity. I've seen people abandon good paths just because they looked to the side and thought they were behind. This is pure self-sabotage. This steals your peace, creates anxiety, makes you doubt yourself. And the more you feed this, the farther you get from your own personal evolution. The adjustment here requires something many people avoid: turning your focus inward. Stop measuring your life by other people's standards and start aligning your life with your own journey. Develop gratitude for what you already have. Recognize your progress, even if small. Start focusing on your growth, your decisions, your path. If you want prosperity, you need to live with purpose. And purpose is not built by looking outward, but by connecting with your own direction. Because when you begin to do this, something changes inside you. Comparison loses strength, and clarity begins to appear. But there is still one last pattern that prevents many people from evolving, even when they have already realized all this. And it is directly linked to pride. Pattern 7. Ignoring correction. There is a pattern that, if you are not careful, can cancel all the other adjustments you have started to make. It is when the person even realizes that a stuck life has causes, even understands that they are in stagnation, but simply does not accept correction. They hear but do not apply. They listen to advice but reject it internally, and deep down they continue repeating the same mistakes. This is more common than it seems, because no one likes to be confronted. No one likes to admit they are wrong. But here is the problem. When you ignore correction, you choose to remain in error. And this keeps you trapped in a cycle where nothing works, even with access to truth. This blocks your progress in a silent but extremely powerful way. Proverbs teaches something essential in Proverbs 19:20. Listen to advice and accept discipline, and at the end, you will be counted among the wise. Biblical wisdom is showing that growth does not happen only when you learn, but when you accept to be adjusted. The word reveals that those who reject correction remain in lack of wisdom. And without wisdom, your decisions continue to be wrong decisions. Do you see the cycle? You make a mistake, someone points it out, you ignore it, and repeat it. This slowly destroys your life, prevents your prosperity, and keeps you in the same place for years, because it is not lack of information that keeps people stuck. It is resistance to transformation, and this usually comes from a very specific place, pride. Now imagine this clearly. It is like driving on a road and ignoring all the warning signs. The sign says, dangerous curve, you keep going. It says, slow down. You ignore it. It says, risk of accident. You continue. And when the accident happens, you blame fate. But the truth is, the signs were there all along. That is exactly what happens when you reject correction. I have lived this. I have heard advice I didn't want to accept at the time because I thought I knew enough. Result? I had to learn the hard way. And you know what weighs the most? It's realizing it could have been avoided. This makes you regress, steals your peace, and prolongs cycles of stagnation that could have been broken earlier. The adjustment here is to develop a teachable heart. Start truly listening. Not just hearing, but considering, reflecting, and applying. And when someone confronts you, instead of reacting, pause and think, what if this is exactly what I need to hear? Seek advice from people who have results, who live with wisdom, who demonstrate direction. Because anyone who wants growth needs to accept adjustment. And when you begin to do this, something changes deeply inside you. Your character is shaped, your mindset is corrected, your decisions start to generate new results. And this is the point where everything starts to align, because the problem was never lack of opportunity. It was repetition of invisible patterns. And when that changes, your life starts changing along with it. The problem was never that your life has no solution. The problem is that you were trapped in patterns you didn't see. Patterns of behavior, patterns of decisions, patterns of mindset. All of this was keeping you in the same place. But here is the truth that can change everything. When you change the pattern, you change the result. When you change your mindset, you change your direction. When you apply wisdom, you begin to live real growth. And maybe now you are starting to see things you couldn't see before. And this is not coincidence. It is direction. Prosperity does not start with money. It starts with the way you live. Because a stuck life is not the result of what you don't have, but of what you repeat. And when you begin to align with wisdom, your decisions change, your paths change, your life changes. Proverbs does not just teach how to prosper. It reveals what needs to be corrected first. And maybe today, you didn't just receive knowledge, but direction. If this message spoke to you, comment here. Today I choose to live with wisdom. Share this video with someone who needs this direction, and subscribe to the channel to keep learning the codes to live better.